you've probably never even sat in one. And that's the weird part about the R34, dude. A whole generation fell in love with this car, and most of them never actually saw one in real life. You had it in a PlayStation game. You saw it in a Paul Walker movie. Maybe you watched some blurry best motoring tape somebody uploaded in like 240p. That was it. And here in America, you couldn't even legally own one until 2024. But the craziest part is the number everybody memorized. 276 horsepower. That was never even real. Nissan lied, on purpose, because every dyno of a healthy stock RB26 comes back around 320, 330. This thing left the factory faster than Nissan was even legally allowed to admit. So basically the entire story of this car is a fake number from day one, and then a tuning scene that spent 30 years turning that fake number into a real one. 1,000 horsepower. On the same block it came with, 7 levels, from the lie to the monster. Let's go. Level 1. Stock. So you got the RB26DETT, 2.6-liter twin-turbo inline-6, cast iron block, and 6 individual throttle bodies, which is genuinely a race car trick that nobody else was even doing on a street car. Look at that block for a second, because honestly, it's the entire point of this video. It's cast iron, it's heavy, it's old-fashioned, and it's nearly indestructible. That thing does not change for a long time. On paper, it's 276 horsepower. In reality, it's 320 and up. And that gap exists because of a handshake deal. Back in the 90s, every Japanese automaker agreed to advertise nothing above 276 horsepower, supposedly for safety. So Nissan built an engine making well over 300 and just printed 276 on the paperwork. Everyone knew. Nobody cared. Then you got a Tesla, the all-wheel drive. It runs rear-wheel drive most of the time, so the car feels alive, and then the second a tire slicks, it throws power to the front and saves you. And then Hikis turns the rear wheels a little to tighten the car up in the corners. 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds. In 1999. Now the stock car is not the fast part of this story. It's the foundation the whole thing gets built on. And a clean stock one now costs more than a house in most of the country. So the guy who finally imported his dream car, he drives it like it's made of glass. Financially, it is. Level 2. The factory's own hot versions. Because before you even touch anything, Nissan already built you a ladder. So it starts with the base GT-R. Then you got the V-Spec, which had a smarter rear differential, stiffer suspension, and a body kit that actually did something. Then the V-Spec II. That one got a carbon fiber hood. Then there's the M-Spec, which kind of went the other way. Softer suspension, leather, basically for the guy who wanted his GT-R to be comfortable. Then in 2002, Nissan knew it was killing the car, so they sent it off with the Nur editions, named after the Nürburgring in Germany. But the important part is under the hood. The Nur cars got a stronger engine block based on the N1 racing motor, with better cooling and better oil flow. They only built about 1,000 of them, and those are the ones collectors fight over now. And then you got the final boss of factory R34s, the Nismo Z-tune, 2005. Nismo took the RB26, stroked it out to 2.8 liters, and built around 19 of them, roughly 493 horsepower straight from the factory, and one sells today for about $500,000. But here's what actually matters. Everything Nissan did at this level, they did it to that same cast iron block. They didn't replace it, they just trusted it. Keep that in the back of your head, because you're about to do the exact same thing, except with way less money and way worse judgment. Level 3. Bolt-ons. This is where you stop admiring the car and you start emptying your bank account. And it's really 3 things. First one's the exhaust. You take the catalytic converters out and you put a real exhaust on so the engine can actually breathe out and those twin turbos wake up. Second one's a boost controller. It's just a little device that lets you run more boost than the factory ever allowed. More boost, more air, more power. And then the third one, which is the one people love to skip and then regret, is a tune. You reprogram the computer to add fuel to match all that new air. Because more air with no extra fuel doesn't make power, dude. It makes a hole in a piston. So you do those 3 things, and a stock RB26 lands around 400, 450 horsepower at the wheels. On the factory turbos. On the factory injectors. On that same block from level 1, still completely sealed. That's the RB26's whole party trick. It gives up 150 horsepower for the price of a used Civic and asks for nothing back. Yet. Level 4. Feeding it. So 400 was easy, because honestly the engine already had it hiding in there the whole time. But past that, you actually have to feed the thing. So you go bigger on the fuel injectors, because the factory ones are maxed out now. Then you need a bigger fuel pump just to keep up with them. And then a front mount intercooler, which is that big radiator-looking thing behind the front bumper, because hot air makes less power, and the stock cooler heat soaks the moment you push it. Colder air, more oxygen, more power. Throw some mild cams on top of that and you're into the 500s. But here's the one nobody ever puts on the flyer. The RB26 oil pump. It's the engine's one real weak spot. You push the revs and the boost hard enough, and that stock oil pump can just fail, starve the engine of oil, and kill the whole thing in about a second. Gone. So before you go chasing big numbers, you replace the oil pump and the water pump with the good aftermarket stuff. And it adds 0 horsepower. It literally just stops the engine from destroying itself. So now you're at 500, 550 horsepower, still on the stock block. But you're standing right at the edge of it now, and the next step is the one you can't take back. Level 5. Single turbo. This is the big one. This is where the car kind of quietly stops being an R34 and starts being a project. So you take those two famous factory turbos, the ones that basically made the car what it is, and you just put them in a box on a shelf. And in their place, you bolt on one giant single turbo. And the whole character of the car changes. Down low, below 4,000 RPM, the thing is basically asleep. A big single needs revs before it does anything. So around town, it genuinely feels slower than stock. But then it comes on. And it comes on like a truck hitting you. All the power lands at once at the top of the rev range. 600, sometimes 700 horsepower. Now here's the thing every comment section is going to tell you. The RB26 block is unbreakable. Just like the Supra's 2JZ. And that's the myth. But here's the thing, okay? The truth is it's strong, but it is not the 2JZ. The honest, reliable ceiling on stock internals is around 500, and the guys running 700 on a stock bottom end are gambling, and they know it. That's why every single forum has somebody typing, "Just go buy a Supra motor." They're annoying, but they're also not completely wrong. And then you got the single turbo guy who can't even drive it in the rain. All that power, all at once, in a car that's now genuinely angry. He knows. He does it anyway. Level 6. Built motor. So everything up until now happened on a sealed engine. You never opened it. That ends right here. Because to go past the stock block safely, you finally crack it open, and you swap out the soft parts. So you got forged pistons and forged rods, which are basically just much stronger versions of what's already inside, able to take abuse the factory parts just can't. Then head studs, to clamp everything down so the boost can't physically lift the cylinder head off the block. And while it's all apart, usually you throw in a stroker kit too, bumping it from 2.6 to 2.8 liters for more torque everywhere. And now it makes 800, 900, 1,000 horsepower and up. And the block? It's the same cast iron block the car came with in 1999. It's still sitting in there. A 90s Nissan bottom end, designed around 276 fake horsepower, now holding 1,000 real ones. Nissan overbuilt that block by so much that 30 years later it's making the same numbers a $2 million Bugatti makes, with the original factory casting still bolted in. And that's not tuning anymore, dude. That's genuinely a group of engineers from 1989, quietly winning an argument nobody even knew they were having. Level 7. Making it survive. So here's the problem with 1,000 horsepower. The engine is now the strongest part of the car, and everything else is still from 1999. So level 7 isn't even about power anymore. It's about keeping that power from tearing the rest of the car to pieces. The clutch goes first, so you fit a triple plate that can actually hold the torque. Then the gearbox. That factory 6-speed is tough, I'm not gonna lie, but you launch 1,000 horsepower through it enough times and it gives up. So the serious builds swap in a stronger box. And then the all-wheel drive system needs beefing up too, or it just grenades. Then you need brakes big enough to actually stop all of it. You need tires wide enough to put it down. You need proper coilovers, because the stock suspension has no idea what's going on anymore. And you need more cooling, because the RB already runs hot, and now it runs hotter. So by the time you're done, almost nothing that even touches the road is original. You basically rebuilt the entire car around one stubborn cast iron block that just refused to be the weak point. And that's the 7 levels. From a fake number on a spec sheet, all the way to a fully built monster wearing a 1999 body. So, where should you actually get off this ladder? Honest answer? For almost everybody, it's level 3 or 4. A clean RB26 with the exhaust, The tune, the injectors, and a fixed oil pump makes around 450 horsepower, still drives like a normal car, still starts every morning, and still has those two factory turbos doing the exact thing that made you want one in the first place. That's the sweet spot. Because most of the people chasing more than that are chasing a dyno screenshot, not a better car. Level 5 and up is where it stops being a car you own, and it turns into a car you're always working on. And some people want exactly that. Just know which one you're signing up for before you go pulling those turbos off. If this made the R34 make a bit more sense, you know what to do. Like it, subscribe if you're new here, and see you in the next one, homie.